Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and looking through various health and fitness news stories out there, I actually came across something decent being marketed for the coming up New Year's resolutioners, and it was actually a decent article about safe fat loss. So let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, do a little bit of crafting, and let's talk about this. All right, this was fantastic because it talked about things like safe rates of fat loss, which is again something really important, and it's also important not just for safety, but for people's actual diet adherence. And one of the things you see people who first get into fitness, particularly people who are a bit overweight or very overweight, they get this idea that they're going to very quickly lose large amounts of body fat and they're going to keep it off. And when we look at the failure rates of gastric bypass and stuff, that should tell people how much that doesn't work. Because I've seen firsthand examples of this. I saw someone do a gastric bypass once, which is, again, I'm not a big fan of these things, that they were losing large amounts of weight and that they were working their way back up. It was a friend of my mother's many years ago who had gotten down to where she could only eat one slice of pizza due to the gastric bypass, but she was slowly stretching her stomach back out, and she had worked back up to where she could eat 2 slices of pizza in one meal, and she was very proud of that fact. Now think about that for a minute. Anyone who understands fitness kind of sees the problem here. So you're working your way back up to eating really, really calorically dense, low satiety foods. Exact opposite of what you should be eating for fat loss. But working her way back up, and needless to say, later on down the road, this didn't work out for her amazingly well in the long term. And they pointed some of this out, that you need to be concerned about the long term, not the short term. That rapid fat loss is generally something that leads to only short-term results and very rarely leads to lasting fat loss. The people who tend to lose weight very quickly are your traditional yo-yo dieters. In fact, these are your typical New Year's resolutioners. They New Year's resolution every year, they diet really strict for 3 or 4 months, lose a bunch of weight, and then regain it. Sometimes they end up fatter than where they started. Sometimes these people New Year's resolution so much that by the time their January rolls back around, sometimes they're 10 pounds heavier after their third New Year's resolution than the first one. And then they go on and on about how diet and exercise don't work and losing weight's too hard. Well, here's the thing. They pointed out the fact that things like starvation diets, diets that put women on 800 calories or men on 1,200 calories, tend to cause muscle loss. Almost irrespective of how much body fat you have, they're going to tend to cause muscle loss. If you lose muscle mass, what's going to happen? Most people understand this. There's a reason people lift weights while they're trying to lose body fat who know what they're doing. There's a reason experts who help people with weight loss have them lift weights. Why? Because muscle mass affects your metabolism. If you are losing muscle weight, every single bit of muscle weight that you lost is fat that you didn't lose, because you took energy stores from your muscles and burned that for fuel instead of your body fat. Most people are trying to lose fat when they're trying to lose weight. Furthermore, losing muscle mass, several pounds of muscle, can slightly lower your metabolism. Now, losing fat can lower your metabolism too, but not nearly as much pound for pound as muscle. It really, really hurts you in the long term to lose muscle mass. If you lose 5 or 10 pounds of muscle when you're dieting, that can have a very significant effect on your caloric burn, not just your base metabolic rate, but your total daily energy expenditure. Like your total activities burn a lot less calories when you have less muscle. When you're active, you burn more calories the more muscle you have. So losing body fat is your goal. Losing muscle mass is the exact opposite of what you want to avoid. Even ideally, you would want to gain a little bit of muscle mass. If you're someone starting out and you need to lose 30, 40, 50, or 100 pounds, the best thing you could do is try to gain a little bit of muscle. The reason, it will speed your metabolism up. It will help you lose fat more quickly in the long term and help you keep it off in the long term, because that's what that's about. That's what all of this is about, long-term fat loss, not starvation. And any diet that you use for weight loss needs to be something that you think you could reasonably maintain for most of your life. Meaning what you need to be looking at is changes in lifestyle, not a quick fix diet. So if you're doing something that you don't think you can maintain for a year or 5 years straight, you've already doomed yourself to failure. it's going to be a futile effort in the long term. And what's actually recommended by the Mayo Clinic's Weight Loss Center and other people, what they recommend even for obese people, even for morbidly obese people, is to try to lose 5 to 10% of your body fat. 5 to 10% of your body fat is what you should be trying to lose in the first 6 months. And that's not a lot. That really isn't. Example given in the article was dead on. A 250-pound person, doesn't specify male or female, 250-pound person who is not carrying enormous amounts of muscle weight is generally going to be morbidly obese. All right. Basically, if you're not a competitive strength athlete or a competitive bodybuilder and you're 250 pounds, unless you're like 6'7" or something, you're probably morbidly obese in terms of body fat. So, 250 pounds, which that means that that person should strive to lose between 12 and 25 pounds in 6 months. 5 to 10% of your total body weight. And the problem is a lot of people look at that and go, well, they're still going to be morbidly obese in 6 months. Yes, they are. Yeah, they still are, because they're still going to be 225. And if you're even a 6 foot tall male, again, who doesn't carry a lot of muscle, that's still obese. If you're a female, that's pretty much morbidly obese no matter what height you are. 225-pound female. So even the best case scenario, you're still going to be obese, if not morbidly obese, after 6 months. But here's the thing. What is that should be your main goal for losing fat? Sure, everyone wants to look better. All right, everyone wants to be more confident. But the main thing with the losing fat is your health, your energy, your mood, how you feel. How you feel physically and the energy that you have will affect how you feel emotionally. All right, if you start to feel better physically and you're more active and you know that you're making progress towards a goal, your self-esteem tends to improve a bit anyways. That's just the way things are. When you're being successful at something that matters to you and you're doing something positive with your life that also gives you more energy and makes you feel better and even reduces chronic aches and pains, makes you feel healthier, you're usually a little bit happier. You usually feel a little better about yourself, if not a lot better about yourself. Well, here's the thing. When you're talking about that 6 months, you were saying basically 24, 25 weeks. That is actually at most a pound a week they're losing with that 5 to 10%. But you know what? All the studies out there show that if a person is obese or morbidly obese, when they start losing a pound a week for even a few weeks straight consistently, what happens to their health? What happens to their blood markers? They improve. That person's blood work starts looking better as long as they're still losing weight. Until they stop losing weight, their blood work looks good. Now, if they go back to overeating and they start gaining body fat again, their blood work within a few weeks, a month, 2 months starts looking a little worse again. But while they're in the weight loss process, anyone who is losing at least a pound a week who is morbidly obese, within 30 days to 6 weeks of them starting doing so, as long as they're in the weight loss process, things like their lipid profile looks better, their fasting glucose looks better, and accordingly, when the fasting glucose and stuff starts looking better, they don't have problems with low blood sugar as much. They don't have as much irritability. They don't have as many mood swings, because people need to understand a lot of these things that people mistake for being purely psychological issues oftentimes have very direct physiological causes. It could actually be something as simple as some hypoglycemia, a little bit of insulin resistance going on, anything that has to do with your blood sugar and stuff. That stuff can actually make you feel bad emotionally. It can make you feel lethargic. It can make you feel tired. It can make you feel depressed. It can make you irritable. It can make you angry. So when these people start seeing these improved blood markers, they feel better physically. They feel better emotionally. That's what we're looking for. And it's okay that they're not down to a healthy body weight in the first 6 months. It's okay if they're not down to a healthy body weight in a year. As long as they're still seeing the results and they're still slowly losing body fat, and in the process, their blood work tends to keep improving slowly. They tend to do better. They automatically see shifts in their blood work that will dramatically lower the risk of heart attack, stroke, diabetes, even cancers. So that actual process already makes you healthier. And more importantly, it makes you feel better. And when you feel better physically, it's a hell of a lot easier to feel better about yourself emotionally. So this slower weight loss method tends to cause people to do better. And also, because they're not crash dieting, they're not going to get as many hunger pains, as many cravings. They're not going to be prone to binge eating as much. And people are going to be able to stick out their diet in the long term. And you know what? When you successfully improve your diet and lifestyle for 6 months straight, and particularly a year straight, you tend to be able to stick it out in the long term. These things start to become habit at that point to where people no longer think about them so much. They're no longer obsessing about it. They're no longer worrying about it. It's just part of their life. Their healthier habits tend to just stick with them because of that. And so even though it's been slow, eventually, because they've picked up these healthier habits that are going to help them lose weight and have more energy, and you know what? It's easier to lose weight when you have more energy because you move around more, you're more active, you burn more calories. You even exercise harder. Again, you'll burn more calories. It'll help you lose more weight in the long term. Again, it's going to help you feel better. So they're going to tend to stick it out. So yeah, they might not be there in the first 6 months. They might not be there in the first year. But when this becomes a permanent lifestyle change, not just a short-term diet, 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road, these people tend to reach their goals because it becomes a permanent lifestyle. And they don't want to go back at that point. People get so used to just feeling better, their knees hurting less, being less grumpy, less lethargic, less tired, fewer aches and pains. And it's the habit already. They just get used to it and they don't want to go back. They don't have a desire to go back. So it's nice to see something like this in a news story talking about actually successful methods, time-proven successful methods, rather than, oh, this berry will help you lose 25 pounds in 3 weeks. This new crash diet will help you drop 17 pounds in 10 days, and all this other stupid garbage and bullshit. So, again, it was just nice to see this for once, and I'll link the article below. Alright, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.